Peace and love, everybody. Back again today for a period of focusing on some hope and some healing. Back for another Hope and Healing Sunday Hope and Healing session. And so I'm sending out just good vibes out there to everybody who's there, whether you're catching this live or on a rebroadcast. I'm Royce Fletcher Thomason. I am just a soul who's grateful to serve in terms of the healing and the elevation of consciousness, the um, awakening to greater awareness, seeking to be an embodiment of peace and love and light and joy and all those good things. And hopefully to be an encourager and offer some inspiration for those who are here. And so we love to be able to offer healing, whether that's in the form of physical healing, such as pain. Hey, listen, we've helped people with pain right during the broadcast, and are more than happy to do so. We'll be more than happy to do so with anyone who's here today. If you would like to have some healing, have the opportunity to experience some healing during the broadcast, please just include it in the comments. We're very happy to do that. The fact that I'm here in my office in Tampa, Florida, and you are wherever it is that you are on the planet is immaterial. Just like the internet is reaching you where you are, guess what? The healing power can reach you where you are. It doesn't matter where it's being broadcast from or where it's being broadcast to. Time and space are immaterial. It's certainly able to reach you. So again, please comment if you have any pain that you're dealing with, any concerns. If you have any questions, please feel free to put that in the comments as well. And I always love to know who's here. So those who are present, if you could just say a quick hello or something in the comments, I certainly appreciate the opportunity to see who it is that's present. No need to be shy about that. It's an awkward and weird feeling looking at this green dot on my computer and pretending that somebody's there. If I've got an idea of who is it that's there, it makes it a little bit easier to do that. But we've got a focal point for today. And if at any point, like I said, you have some healing that you would like to experience, please say so. Rhonda Jackson, good to have you here today. And you say pain, pain, pain. What kind of pain are you feeling, and where are you experiencing that pain? If you could put that in the chat as well. Or even if you want to come on live into the stream, we can pull you on as well if you'd like that. That actually helps to reduce the gap in time, because I know it's about 20-30 seconds from the time that I say it to the time that you hear it on Facebook or on YouTube, wherever you're tuned in to. Rhonda, I see that you're on Facebook. Reverend Shirley. Well, let me acknowledge Rhonda Jackson real quickly, and I definitely want to acknowledge Reverend Shirley Price Lawson. It was such a pleasure being with you yesterday, and your ministry, Meditative Life Ministries. I encourage you all to check them out. If you're on Facebook, check out Meditative Life Ministries on Facebook, and like them and follow what they've got going on there. Doing some wonderful work over there, and I certainly encourage you all to support it. And I had a ball with them yesterday. I absolutely did. So Rhonda Jackson, you said you've got some pain in your neck between your C3 and C6. Okay, had you had an accident or had any surgery or anything? What's going on with that area in your cervical vertebra. If you could drop that in the chat, and if you'd like to be visually on the stream, we can make that happen too. Actually, can help make it more efficient. Yet, if you don't feel comfortable with that, that's certainly okay as well. Okay. Um, and if you can also, well, I'll see what it is that you have to say before I add any further comments along those lines. We do have a topic for today, which you probably saw or you perhaps saw. So, Rhonda, I see that you did have some surgery. Are you wanting to come on the live stream where we're actually talking directly, or do you want to just stick in the chat? Just remain in the comment section. I guess I'll get my words out one way or another. Um, but the topic for today, and we're going to work this in even in the midst of the healing. The topic is, what is God to you? What is God to you? And that's something that came to me when I was reflecting and praying and meditating regarding what the topic would be today, and that came up as the topic, which I thought was interesting. And there are some things that uh, that were presented to me in the context of that, and I'd love to hear from you all. What is God to you? You could just put that in the chats. What is God to you? What is God to you? There's definitely some things that I am wanting to say about this that I intend and will say about this, but I'd certainly like to see in the comments, what is God to you? And we'll go certainly into some depth and some detail regarding this topic. Also, if this is something you feel like other people could find value in, other people could benefit from, please share it. We'd certainly like to reach as many people as possible. Um, we're here sharing love, light, and good vibes, seeking to be um, expression of hope and healing and encouragement. And if you know anybody that could use that, please, by all means, please share that, because we certainly would like to be able to reach people and impact them with hope, with healing, with encouragement, with just the good energy that we're intending to put out there. We believe that there will be some things that will be present that will be revealed, that will be certainly beneficial. And again, feel free to share it. And also, I don't know how many people here today are on YouTube. We're broadcasting live, both from my personal page on Facebook, the Transcending the Matrix Facebook group page, and the Matrix Healing YouTube channel. I certainly want to also encourage you all to, even if you are watching on Facebook Live, uh, to check us out on YouTube and to follow us on YouTube and get notified of when we're putting content there, as well as to share the YouTube content, maybe sending it in a text to somebody that you think could use it or appreciate it, and things of that nature. All right, so Rhonda Jackson, I haven't heard back from you yet. In terms of the intensity of the pain in your neck, whether you want to be actually on the live, or if you just want to uh, sit back in the comments and share from there. Whether you choose to come on live or just comment, um, the healing can still happen. So that's not a determining factor for the healing to take place. The healing isn't contingent upon that at all. And I'm still waiting. I haven't seen anybody put in the comments just yet. I haven't noticed it about what is God to you. And so I can't put off and delay too much longer before I get into this. So let's get into that. So there are numerous. Okay, let's see. What are you saying here? Rhonda Jackson says, God's inner peace, comfort, all presence, never ending, universal. Okay. All right. Thank you for that, Rhonda Jackson. I also still want to hear regarding your neck and that situation too, because we can certainly help out with that, get you some healing where that's concerned, improve your comfort level and uh, range of motion as well. Uh, so here's the thing, folks. There are, okay, you'll share in the comments. If you could drop on the scale of 0 to 10, with 0 being no pain at all and 10 the most excruciating pain you've ever felt in your life, where you would rate that pain level right now in this moment. Also, if it is more intense when you move your head in certain directions, what direction that might be, and what the pain level goes to when you do that. And so, there are numerous religions, in the Western world. There's the Judeo-Christian tradition that includes Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. In the Eastern traditions, they're the religions of Buddhism, Hinduism, and Sikhism. Um, there are many, many, many indigenous religions in various parts of the world, um, on the various continents of the earth. There are a lot of different perspectives in terms of what people call the new age and all of that. There are a lot of different perspectives that people have on God. And a lot of times people are fighting over which one is correct, which one is accurate. There have been so many wars that have been fought in the name of religion. There's been so much that's been done in the name of religion. Hello there, Mamushka. My mom says God is the essence from which pure love exists and the energy force that binds everything, both living and non-living. That's a beautiful way of putting that, Mother. There's so many that argue and fight over this idea of God. Hmm. There are those who believe that God doesn't exist, and label themselves as atheists. There are those who don't really even believe it to be a relevant question and call themselves agnostic. But this thing about God is a big thing that impacts us in a lot of ways. Hmm. But guess what? The place I'm really going with this is somewhere a little bit different, because here's the thing. Reverend Shirley Price Lawson says, God is spirit, infinite intelligence, universal mind, and the three omnis: omniscient, omnipresent, and omnipotent, all seeing, all knowing. Excuse me. uh, all knowing, all present, and all powerful. And so I put this out there as a question, and it's a little bit of a trick question. Because here's the thing, God is not a name. God is not the name of a being, right? God, the word God is actually a generic term. And I'm a minister, in the biblical record, uh, the word God isn't really so much used in the original languages. You know, you see words like Elohim, El Shaddai, Adonai, El Elyon, Yahweh, all of these different words that end up being translated as God, but uh, they're actual different words, different names, one could say, that are end up being translated into God. But the question is, what is God to you? Hmm. And so to determine what is God to you, let me kind of look at this in terms of just kind of breaking down this word God. Again, God is not the name of an entity. God is a word that represents what you put above everything else. Okay? Let's sit with that for a second. God is really a designation. It's a word that we use as a designation for what we place above everything else, for what we make most important in our life, for where we put the focal point of our attention, where we give the most energy. Okay? That is really kind of by definition what God is, right? And so, yes, as Reverend Shirley said, God is spirit, infinite intelligence, universal mind, and the three omnis, omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent. My mom, Ronnie Hall, says God is the essence from which pure love exists and the energy force that binds everything, both living and non-living. Rhonda Jackson says inner peace, comfort, all presence, never ending, universal. And these are wonderful and beautiful things. But here's the thing. Sometimes that's what God is to us. That's um, not what God is to us. Sometimes that's our God. Hmm. I say sometimes. I'm just going to do my best to make it plain today. You know, I made a conscious decision on April 24th, 1994, to give my life to God. Okay. In the context of the source of all existence, the essence from which everything was created, the creator and sustainer of life, the one who called the universe to existence, that which transcends time and space and created both, that which is bigger than infinity and encompasses it all, that which is always everywhere equally present. Okay. And so in that context, that that's what I call God. That's what I like to say uh is my God. But listen, here's the thing, folks. If I'm to be really honest with you, there have been points in my life where that's not been God to me. Where, let me make it a little bit more plain, where that isn't what I made priority number one. Hmm. And if you're to be honest with yourself, maybe there's some points in your life where there was something else that you made priority number one. Whatever it is that you make priority number one is what you make your God. That's what uh, that's what's God to you. All right. Maybe a lowercase g, but that's what's become God to you nonetheless. And I think back to my time. I was a student in college when I mentioned that in 1994. And ah, My mother gave me a Bible for Christmas in 1988, which was my senior year in high school. And for me, I revered that book so much that I wouldn't put anything on top of it. I wouldn't let anybody else put anything on top of it. I wouldn't mark it up or anything. I kind of revered that book, but I also wouldn't really read it very much because I felt like there were things that was being challenged to do that I didn't really want to do, or challenged to stop doing things that I wanted to continue doing. Um, and that following year, that following August, I headed from Michigan down to Tuskegee, Alabama, and became a college student at what's now my alma mater, Tuskegee University. Um, and I had a lot of school spirit. I still do. I was in my senior class in high school. I was voted most school spirit. Um, and I guess that's just kind of maybe how I roll. But it was that way when I got to Tuskegee too. And while I was a student on the campus, I actually ended up pledging a fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. Uh, and I made that really super important to me. Super, super important to me. And then I ended up uh, getting involved with this young lady, uh, dated her, and in some ways, she kind of became what was most important to me. um, and I experienced something. Each one of those things that I placed above Big G God, the source of all that is, each one of those things ended up being taken away from me. I wasn't able to, get finances together to get registered in school. Then our fraternity got kicked off the campus. And then the young lady and I broke up. Those things actually happened in the exact same order chronologically that I had put those things before the big G, uppercase G, God. And so it was actually as a function of that, and it was really kind of in connection with that, um, that a spiritual awakening began to take place within me. And I sought to keep the uppercase G, God, uh, my God, rather than other things. And here's the reality, folks. All of us have points in life where we put our stake in something else. A lot of times it's easy to put our stake in what we can see and what we can touch and what we can lay our hands on, what we can grasp. Okay, a lot of times it's easy for us to put our trust and our faith in that which is close, material, that which is like up front in our face. And the reality is that uh, God, who created and sustained us, who knitted us in our mother's womb, who had designed a plan for us before our ancestors were even born, is closer than breathing and nearer than hands and feet. And yet, somehow, sometimes we have these things that end up happening and that show up as distractions in our lives. Distractions in our lives. And we have these things that come up and we start worrying. We start getting stressed out. We start to angst. We get caught up in our egos and we try to do things in our own strength. We try to control other people. We try to control external circumstances. We go and rant and rave on social media about all of the things that are going wrong in the world, or we cuss people out that jump in front of us on the freeway, or uh, we end up um, getting involved in addictive behaviors, and that addiction isn't only to things like drugs and alcohol. That addiction can, or pornography or things of that nature, that addiction can come up in overworking. The addiction can come up in being distracted by our uh, electronic devices, or in the dopamine fix that we get when we see a notification pop up on our phone for Instagram or Facebook or text messages or whatever the case might be. And in subtle ways, we make these other little things our God. We make these other little things unintentionally, I'm sure. We make these other little things God. We make the doctor's diagnosis and prognosis God. We make the pursuit of things God. There are all of these different things that we somehow end up making God, that we somehow subconsciously end up making most important to us. We may have certain people in our lives where we end up making them what's most important to us. And that doesn't mean don't give a lot of attention to your spouse or to your children or your parents or your siblings or your friends or any of that. It's important for us to have relationships. We're hardwired for it. None of us is an island unto ourselves. We are meant to be in fellowship with one another, and everything in life has more meaning in relationship with others. And so I'm not saying to do away with relationships. I'm not saying to devalue relationships. That's incredibly important. What I am saying is that it's important to keep all of that in perspective. Sometimes what it is that we make God is our need to be right. Hmm. And that shows up in innumerable ways in our lives. Sometimes what we make our God is our need for self preservation. Okay. Sometimes having our own way is what becomes God to us, right? And how do we address those things? How do we bring all of those things into balance? How do we bring all of those things under the larger umbrella of the uppercase G God, the source of all that is? Hmm. Well, we'll get to that momentarily, but what I will say is that everything that we experience in our lives that's not working out right, that we're bucking up against, that we're getting frustrated regarding, is an indication that there's something that we're somehow placing above God. And we don't necessarily even want to acknowledge or own up to that in a lot of cases. But here's the thing, God is the solution to every problem that we have. And if we're being bent out of shape, it doesn't mean that you're a bad person because you're getting stressed out, because you're feeling anxious, or because you're feeling depressed. It doesn't make you a bad person because you're having incredible difficulty forgiving somebody or even forgiving yourself. These things don't make you a bad person. It just keeps you from being all that you're intended to be. It keeps life from being all that it can be for you. Okay? If we're having sickness and dis-ease in our body, that sickness and dis-ease isn't coming to you as a curse. That sickness and dis-ease is coming to you, hopefully, for a wake-up call. There's a beautiful soul on the planet Earth right now by the name of Elena Adams. She tagged me in something that she's tagged me in several things that she's posted on Facebook. I just saw today something that she had posted on May 24th. It was a video, and there's some words that she typed in. I thought it was absolutely beautiful what she said. The reality of her experience right now is that she uh, had been diagnosed with cancer. She is at a point where it doesn't seem that there's uh, much, if anything, that can be done medically. And she was sharing, oh, from such a beautiful and authentic place, um, how her focus in the midst of this, even, is on embracing the fullness of love, life, and living, including death and dying, right? Is all part of the sequence. And she shared from a really truly beautiful, beautiful place. And I know that all of us are going to um, exhale from the earth and inhale in another dimension at some point. All of us are going to stop sucking wind in this place at some point. And um, none of us really know exactly when that's going to happen for us. But what I do know is that every sickness, every dis-ease, every pain, whether it's emotional or physical, is an opportunity to be able to tune into, to align with, and to surrender an aspect of our beingness to God, including this situation um, with your neck, Rhonda Jackson. And so I saw your comment. I hadn't read it yet. Levels of healing working via meditation and prayer. I was able to detox all meds out of my system and brought my pain level down from 11 to holding steady at a 5 or 6. Most remaining pain subsiding is on the left shoulder area. Okay, so Rhonda, if you can provide some clarification, are you feeling any pain in your neck right now? If you're feeling pain in your neck right now, if you could just type neck and then whatever that number is on that 0 to 10 scale, and which shoulder you're feeling pain in, and then write a number next to your shoulder, whether it's the right or the left shoulder, the level where you'd rate that pain right now. And we'll do some things um, to help with the resolution of that pain, whether reducing it or eliminating it altogether. Okay. So just please put that in the chat. You don't have to write a lengthy paragraph or anything. You can just type neck pain level, shoulder pain level, um, and that'll suffice. And I'll go ahead and start to focus on that in terms of the work. And so I ask again the question that's really the theme for the day. Or let me ask it a little bit of a different way. Um, what other than uppercase G God have you allowed to be God for you? What other than uppercase G God have you allowed to be God for you? And if you want to put that in the chat, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine as well. But I do want to invite you to get present to that, to get in touch with that, um, and bring that under the umbrella of the uppercase G God, rather than placing that above the uppercase G, the source of all that is, the one who knows everything about you and is the solution to every problem, past, present, and future. So, Rhonda, you said neck level is 4, okay, right now. All right, and what about the shoulder level? Which shoulder and where do you rank the pain in the shoulder right now? Also, is that neck level 4? Oh, the left shoulder. Okay. Um, and is that neck level when you're just holding your head still, when you're moving it in a certain direction? If you can maybe put that, and what level you'd rate the pain in your shoulder on also. In the meantime, God, I know you to be a healer. Through the union we share through the power of pure love, the God in me demonstrates you as a healer on the behalf of your daughter and my sister, Rhonda Jackson, to the point of neutralizing the root cause of all pain in her neck and in her left shoulder. Every strand of DNA and every cell of her body, every string particle of her existence, and transmuting it into and replacing it with a neck that feels so good. It just tickles her to the point of glee and laughter, to know how good her neck and her shoulder are feeling, and to be really able to celebrate fully and joyfully the wonderment of what you made possible for her. And I bear witness to her wholeness on this date and in this time and space called now. Thank you. Thank you, God, for this gift of your divine love. It is done. It is done. It is done. Okay, and so I know that you said that you had surgery on your neck some time ago, and I think that you said the areas between your C3 and C6, was it C3 and C6 or C4 and C6? Um, I think it was C3 and C6. Okay, so let's look at let's look first and address the surgical trauma. Okay, and so we want to clear out that surgical trauma. Um, Also, um, any mental poisoning that could have been the result of anything that you could have heard while you were under during the surgery. Okay, that be cleared out as well. Okay, and as well as any residual from the anesthetic, any confusion of the meridians in your body as a function of the surgery. We want to actually bring back into alignment uh, the meridians and have a clear line of communication uh, throughout the entirety of your central nervous system. Okay. Okay. And in terms of if you could put in the chat, in terms of the surgery, what kind of surgery was it? Did you have a spinal fusion? Did you have some pins or rods put in? What was it? What was the actual surgery? Okay. And so while I'm working, um, you all, you might hear me saying some words. This could be done equally effectively, just in silence. So I'm a lot of times, so I'm just working with one person individually. A lot of times I'm just silent the whole time for the most part. But so the key isn't in the words that I'm saying. Um, the real key thing is that there's a root of all sickness. There's a root of all dis-ease. There's a root of all pain. There's a root of all injuries. We might think of the pain being the result of an injury, but no, the pain isn't the result of the injury. Well, it is, but the injury isn't the root of the pain. The root of the pain is whatever the root of the injury is. So there's something going on um, that needs to be addressed or that needed to be cleared up and hadn't been, that ended up causing the injury to take place in the first place. All right, and so uh, any and everything that ends up manifesting as sickness, dis-ease, imbalance in the body temple, or within even in mental health, is really an invitation to bring awareness to a certain area where we've actually blocked off from uppercase G, God, okay, and not welcomed in the light of God's love into that particular space. And so in this case, yes, there was surgical trauma that was experienced. There's some scar tissue that need to be cleared out. Um, but beyond that, there's some areas where there was some other type of trauma that needed to be resolved. that ended up resulting in whatever, um, whether it was deterioration of bone, um, deterioration of disc space between the C3 and the C6. Okay, and so um, we want to kind of resolve all of that. We want to resolve all of that, as well as any type of ancestral issue that is connected with this from generations gone by, or somebody in the ancestral lineage um, who had an issue in the past, and sometimes that can even things can even happen, in a way metaphorically that manifest themselves physically, like in terms of when I deal with collective consciousness of the man having his foot on your neck. Okay, that was actually came up as something kind of significant. Uh, and some of these things are things that we don't even necessarily consciously think of, but they end up manifesting. They end up finding a way into our tissues. They're held in consciousness, or there's a blockage that's end up created. Things are intended to flow. Things are intended to flow. There's an order and a design by which God blueprinted everything, and that has a certain flow to it. The nature of water is to flow. You know, the nature of energy is to flow. And so there's sometimes things that end up happening where we get tripped up sometimes, and then there ends up becoming a blockage. And with that blockage, it hinders the free flow. Okay, there could be a hindrance in the flow of communication between the brain and the various parts of the body. There can be a hindrance in the communication between what's going on, uh, within us and what it is that we're actually giving our attention to, where we may be ignoring certain things that are intended to get our attention, and still end up doing what it is that we want to do, right? Is there anybody who's willing to tell the truth and say you do that sometimes? You don't have to put it in the chat, but own up to it within your own beingness. Um, yeah, we all do that in different ways. Okay, we all do that in different ways. So we want to clear up those blockages. We want to clear up inflammation. Okay. Okay, Rhonda says, shoulder neck being still with, okay, so that was with your shoulder not moving. Um, you've had a collar on for 2 months, for 2 or 3 months. Decompression infusion. Um, okay. So you had some falls, you had a car accident. Yeah. Bruise on your spinal cord. All right, I got it. Okay. Um, so there had likely been uh I mentioned about some trauma that ended up being before, you know, the surgery. I didn't know what the details of that were. Um, well, we can look at the falls, the car accident, and actually a lot's been done to actually help resolve those issues already. But what led to those things to take place? That's what I really want to get at. And by the way, also, Rhonda, where on a 0 to 10 scale would you rate the discomfort in your neck right now, in this moment, on that scale of 0 to 10? And we'll keep working. Ketrin, good to have you here today. Much love to you. Sending good vibes to you in California. Um, okay, and you had Oh, Ketrin had to have therapy for the same injuries. Okay, so we'll include you retroactively, Ketrin, on this healing for Rhonda. Okay, and so let's see. If we were having this in private, Rhonda, I'd ask some questions that I don't necessarily want to ask you in this context to try to get a little bit closer to the root of those falls and those accidents and those things. But I don't want to get into that right now. But if you could please put in the chat on a scale of 0 to 10. Okay, so it's still at a 4 right now. It's been you felt no change thus far. Okay, well we'll keep working, see what we come up with. All right, so um, let's look at. I want to look at ancestral trauma and clearing ancestral trauma. Okay. A lot of times, things that are experienced in our ancestors' lives that they weren't able to work out end up being passed down from one generation to the next in hopes that we'll work them out in our lifetime. And things that we don't work out in our lifetime, we have a way of passing those things down to the next generation in hopes that they will in their lifetime. All right. Now, let me say this too, and I want to put this out there. I have no question on whether this pain that Rhonda has been experiencing can be completely turned around, completely resolved. The only question is whether I'm an adequate vessel for it. But I am absolutely certain that God can completely uh, turn that around and completely resolve everything. And so often we try to do things in our best knowledge and our best understanding. And we have these ways where we turn to ego, that part of us that tries to edge God out. And I want to invite all of us to look at these different areas of our life and invite God in. Invite God in. And so we want to invite God into the day that Rhonda had the car accident. We want to invite God into um, the times where she fell and had those other accidents. We want to invite the presence of God in to the moments where um, in her family lineage where there had been uh, deep trauma that had taken place. We want to invite the light of God's love into those spaces and places, right? Okay. All right. So, Rhonda, on a scale of 0 to 10, where would you rate the pain in your neck right now in this moment? If you can put that in the chat for us. And in the meantime, I'll continue working, and we'll look at this from the standpoint of um, not just trauma, but also look at from the standpoint of negative programming. Okay. And sometimes that negative programming comes in the form of um, things that are shared by other people, based not necessarily with bad intent, but based on just the best that they know. And that could manifest as um, thinking that thinking that it has to stay this way, that you'll have to learn to live with this pain, or it's never going to get better, or it's going to take time. Actually, that seemed to have been more the thing that has to take time. Okay. All right. And so let's cut down the time, or even address the belief system that it has to take time. You know, Healing isn't, believe it or not, healing isn't something that requires time. It isn't. Okay. All righty. Okay, so Rhonda, where would you rate the pain in your neck on a scale of 0 to 10 right now? Oh no, my light went out again. I seem to have a short in my ring light. I may need to burn the cord. I may need to invest in another one. It's not popping back on. I'm playing with the cord and it's not getting to a place where it's turning back on. Okay, so you said it's lowered down to a 3 now? I don't know if my ring light's going to turn back on. Well, if not, then uh, so be it. It doesn't seem like it's turning back on. So my apologies for the poor view and the poor lighting. Okay, so what else do we need to look at? I want to take a moment right now and I want to look at inflammation. Actually, that's not coming up as such a big issue. What I will look at though is the element of fire, which is interesting. The inflammation wouldn't have come up. But I'm going to look at the element of fire and excess of the element of fire as it relates to this area. Of 47%. And so we want to resolve that. Okay. All righty. And in connection with that, I want to look at unprocessed anger. We want to invite the presence of the love of God into the place that is at the root of that anger. Okay. And replace it or bring into that space the light and the love of God. I mean, feelings of feeling unsafe or unprotected or fight or flight mechanism. Okay. All right. And I want to look at I want to look at stress hormones, cortisol, norepinephrine. I want to balance those out. And also uh, adrenaline. I'm going to balance that out too. Okay, so where would you rate the discomfort on the 0 to 10 scale right now, Rhonda? If you could let us know in the chat. Okay. And so, like all of these different areas that are coming up during this healing right now, really the essence of what's happening is whether you hear me say it or not, the essence of what's happening is that different areas of different life experiences, different thought processes, different um, intergenerational patterns that have been passed down, different life experiences, where we're ultimately bringing in more fully into those experiences, into those thought processes, into those patterns, the presence of God. Because in the presence of God, everything is transformed, everything is made better. Okay. All right, still at a 3. Okay. And so, um, let's see, what else can we find here? Okay. Okay, so let's look at some things on from an emotional standpoint and bring those things into balance. Okay. Um, and the emotional impact of the injuries, the trauma, uh, the physical pain, restricted movement, all of that. Okay, let's look at that. All right, and and look at any experience of in any way feeling stagnated. Um, and so we want to actually replace that feeling of stagnated. We want to invite the presence of God's love into the place, any place where you consciously or subconsciously feel or have felt stagnated, and transmute those feelings into feeling accomplished, and that progress is happening, and enthusiastic about progress, about forward progress taking place, and even celebratory about that. Okay. We'll look at other emotional things coming up here. Look at any sense of guilt. Any sense of guilt, particularly as it relates to feeling that anybody has been a pain in your neck. Okay, we want to resolve that. And to forgive them, and really to forgive yourself as well. Okay. All right, where would you rate it on the 0 to 10 scale right now? If you can put that in the chat. Okay. So one of the things about broadcasting through this third-party service, StreamYard, is that it takes a little while for you to hear what it is that I'm saying. Uh, but I'm thankful for StreamYard. We get to broadcast on both YouTube and Facebook at the same time. So I'm very thankful for that. All righty. And I was going to try to wait for a moment to see uh, where Rhonda is now, because we're an hour in now, and it's going to be cutting it soon here. Also, anybody else here, if anybody has any questions or comments, please feel free to put that in the chat. Certainly happy to address those things. Okay. All righty. So let me look real quickly. Hopefully, Rhonda, you'll put something else in the chat in terms of where you are now. Um, okay, you're excited because it's still at the same level. The idea is that we get it lower. So I'm going to do something real quickly. I'm going to, for a moment, take my attention off of Rhonda and put it on me, the so-called healer. Really, God is the healer. I'm going to put it on me. Okay. And I'm going to look at my own attachment to the outcome. Okay. Be non-attached to the outcome. And at peace with whatever happens. Okay. And let me address mm, my own savior complex, and invite the presence of God into that space to bring that into reconciliation. So that I can move out of the way and not think that it's dependent upon me. Okay. And also, um, address my own resistance to God and trying to do things in my own strength. Okay. All right. So I'm going to do a couple more things, and then we'll close it out, Rhonda. Okay. So I want to hmm, look at any karmic issues, both real and imagined. Okay. Well, 24 of those things, whatever they might be, those to be cleared out. Sent to the light of God's love to be transformed, purified, transmuted. Okay. I have compassion for anyone that we've caused to suffer in any way, and anyone else who's been in a similar position, as well as any of the residuals of that karma. Okay. All right. Okay. So, God, thank you for this healing that's taken place. All of the places where the light of your love has shown up um, more fully than what we fully welcomed or invited it to previously. And thank you for all these gifts of your divine love. It is done. It is done. It is done. Okay. And everyone else, Rhonda, do me a favor. Reach out to me tomorrow and let me know how you're feeling tomorrow, if you would. Just send me I see that you're commenting here on Facebook. So just reach out, send me a direct message on Facebook tomorrow and let me know how you're feeling. I'd uh, like to see the progress. Um, okay, you said change is happening, that you're able to loosen the collar a little bit with no resistance. Okay, thank you, God. All righty. Okay. And to everybody else who's been here today, I send a bunch of love to you. Mm. And I invite all of us to really be present to any area where there's anything that we're putting that if there's anything that we're making a lowercase g God in our life, anything that we're putting in whatever way before God, anything that we're making that we're wanting to substitute as being our source, whether that's the source of love or the source of attention or the source of resources, All of that is God. At the heart, it's all God. And the reason that we love people is because we, on some level, feel the presence of God in them. And there might be some things that God might do through a particular person, and then things might happen where that relationship might end, or people might part ways, or they might even leave the planet. And then sometimes um, we're left with some feeling of emptiness, with some feeling of loss. Um, and and I know that that can be difficult. And the reason that we have loved anyone is because of the spirit that we felt in that person. And the spirit we felt in that person was because of God, the source of all that is, who loves us beyond measure, right? And so, with that said, I want to encourage all of us all of us who are hurting, anybody who's hurting in any way, to just invite God into the presence of that pain. Invite God into the place where it's being held, at the root of it. Every pain that we feel physically, every pain that we feel emotionally, it has a deeper root. And let us invite God into the place that is the root of it. That's where transformation happens. That's where miracles happen. That's where our lives get turned around. That's what causes us to be less judgmental towards others and to ourselves. That's what causes us to feel bountiful. That's what opens up doors of opportunity for us in areas where they never could have been opened otherwise. That's what really causes wonderful things to happen in our lives. And the more we can recognize that, the better off that we are. God bless you. I love you. I pray that the infinite peace and love and grace and goodness and abundance and well being that is available through allowing your life to be in alignment with God's highest and best vision and purpose for you uh, may be fully activated and fulfilled in your life. Curly Conscious King, good to see you here today, brother. We missed you. We missed you Wednesday. There were people that were asking about you. Several people asked about you. In fact, sorry we didn't get to see you Wednesday, but hope that you're well today. God bless you all. I love you, and see you soon.